This is Pitch Please, the show where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. This week...
I quite like the idea of a game where humanity is collectively further imprisoning Peter Molyneux, burying him deeper and deeper in a structure.
Welcome to Pitch Please. Hello, my name's Alex. I'm joined by developer Chris from Foggybox.
Hello.
Developer James from Catastrophic Overload.
Hello.
Thomas, the Ideas Engine.
Ding, 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 a ding, 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 a ding, a ding, ding. Whoop,
He's pulling into the station.
It's Christmas! Yay!
And joining us for a special Christmas episode. This is going out on Christmas Day, right? This is a special Christmas. Yeah, it is. It's because the days have just happened to line up that way.
Just in time for all the commuters.
Christmas episode pitch of the year is Matthew Castle. He's back.
Hello.
Hello, Matthew.
Yay!
It's back.
Sounds sarcastic. It's not.
Thank you for having me. I hope we deliver a piece of, not a piece of podcasting coal, but a delightful podcasting satsuma
Gold.
in your stocking.
Ooh.
Brilliant. That kind of wordplay is why his podcast is much more popular than ours.
Oh, that's not true.
Oh, I think it might be.
How is your? I think actually is. How is your podcast going? What is it? Can you pitch? Can you give us a pitch? Can you
Pitch,
give
please.
us a pitch, please, for your podcast?
Yeah, it started off as looking at video games through the prism of working on video game magazines. But as we ran out of anecdotes about working on magazines, because we only did it for 7 years or whatever, it's now just more broadly whatever topic we want to talk about. But it's fun. We do a lot of drafts and competitions and stupid things like that. It's fun.
Very nice. The Back Page, right? Is that what it's called?
The Back Page podcast, yes.
The Back Page. You can listen to, I imagine, probably in all the same places you can listen to this.
Indeed.
And please do, Chris. It's you listen to it more than this.
I think you listen to it more than you should.
What you said to me.
More than is necessary.
I listen to it whilst making games.
I get quite nervous about people who make games listening to it because it's just me and Samuel who hosts it with me and offering all these baseless opinions. We've never made games and we're just gabbing away and we hope no one actually tunes in who knows what they're talking about or what we're meant to be talking about and thinks we just sound like complete idiots.
You do realise what podcast you're on? That's pretty much how this goes anyway.
Yeah, it's shit.
Yeah, speaking of running out of ideas, we've got 19.
Speaking of shit podcast. Yeah, so we're back. I think this is the third year now.
The third annual PP Awards.
Yeah.
Oh my
Pitch
God.
of the year, not game of the year, because none of these games have been made. But what we're going to do.
No, well.
So actually, if you're joining us for the first time, then this is actually quite a nice place to jump in, because the usual format of this is that someone pitches an idea for a game, and then we spend the next 30 minutes trying to figure out how we would make it and throwing all our ideas into the pot until it becomes worse than it was when it started off. Yeah, we do that on a kind of a bi-monthly basis every 2 weeks. And then we've been doing that all of this year. In this episode, we're going to go back and we're going to pitch all of those ideas to Matthew here, who's going to help us decide which the best of the year was.
Yeah, and we've got a kind of ranking system.
Do we?
We've got a kind of organization system here in which we're going to pitch the first one, and that's immediately going to be the best game of the year. And then we compare it to the next game, and then the next game, and the next game.
I forgot this terrible system.
It's a great system. It works fine. We don't have second and third place in this. There is just the best, and then the shitters. And we don't care about the shitters.
Everything else gets thrown into the pit.
Yeah.
Right, well, look,
so, we're going to have to go all the way back to February 6th when this episode released, because apparently we missed a month at the start of the year. But, I
do feel like so you're the one who summarizes at the end of every episode of what the game is that we've just talked about, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you're in a pretty good place to be able to.
Yeah. I mean, it does say a lot that if I read the title of it and don't remember it, then, maybe it doesn't deserve to win. But James, you've lovingly put together a little document here of all the games and a brief summary of all of them. And we're going to start with the very first game of 2022.
Yeah, that's the year.
Yeah, that's this year.
Yeah.
Current year.
And it is... I'm immediately anticipating a sigh from Matt. It's called Mexcom.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As in Mech.
Oh, not like MEX. Okay.
No. Like Mech, like Pacific Rim Mech.
Okay. Well, I'm already feeling better about it. I thought this was going to be some insensitive in some way, so that's good.
Well, please. What's a Mex? Oh.
Oh no.
no.
Just to clarify on how good this idea was. I think this was mine, and I don't remember.
This was a Chris idea. Yeah.
It was a Chris idea.
It?
I remember.
I remember some of the mechanics.
Yeah. Well, in that case, it's up to you to pitch it. I don't remember how we tweaked it, but I remember your original.
Yeah, so this was like a squad-based planetary annihilation-esque. You have the whole world to drop in on, and it was hex tiles with one pentagon because you can't make a sphere out of just hexagons. I remember bringing that up. And you would drop into certain places, and you'd have to basically clear the planet of something that was taking over the solar systems, and you'd have to work your way through the solar systems, and it would be a rogue light, like whichever the one it is. They have differences apparently.
You're going to hear that word a lot.
Yeah, and cards. And you go through the solar systems, and you're doing that. And if one of your units dies, it dies, and you have to either build or recruit other units. But the world had a turn, if I remember correctly. So it would be
that
your
was the
turn,
interesting bit.
the enemy's turn, and then the planet would literally turn, but also have, and like if there was a volcano, it might erupt, which would then cause some tiles to be flooded with things. And then there would have night and day cycles, but you would obviously rotate with the planet. So there might be enemies that are stronger at night, so you have to try and kite them out into the day cycle side. And then certain things, you might have, you'd be more stealthy in the dark. But there could be planets which are, tidally locked. So there's only a small side to land on, but it's always sunny. Think that was it.
Yeah, and I also remember the planets themselves, or the battle arenas themselves, I suppose, were actually relatively small.
Yeah,
not
your unit
sized,
was a
obviously.
representation of multiple units, if that kind of makes sense.
So it wasn't a giant planet, but you also had different weaponry as well. Like, I think ballistic weaponry, like just machine guns and stuff, only had a certain range because you can't fire them around the planet. Yeah. But rockets and things could go around. So there was some sort of tactical element there as well.
I think there was orbital ships that could do certain things as long as they were in the right place in orbit. So if you were above an enemy, you could maybe drop something down onto them, but you had to be above them from orbit.
There was a good. We also ended with a good idea that you kind of want to preserve the planet as much as possible in order to get the resources. But if you really just wanted to get rid of the enemy, you could just like obliterate the planet, and
you could just like glass it, right?
Yeah. So then you lose everything.
Planetary
you can't
annihilation.
upgrade your stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the planet turn. That instantly catches my imagination. A bit more. I think that's a bit more exciting than this game has machine guns and rockets in it. Which is not the big back of the box feature you maybe think it is.
Machine guns and rockets, 7 out of 10 IGN.
I didn't mention it because of that. I was saying there's different ways to fight rather than...
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
I mean, they're basically the same.
You're burying the excitement of like a volcano might go off, or the kind of leading people into the day cycle.
Also, if you press R, you reload.
Oh.
Yeah. That's right, motherfuckers.
I mean, so far, this is the best idea I've heard.
Great.
You know what?
That's good. We're off to a good start.
Good low bar.
Well, the next one I actually do remember because this one was mine.
Oh.
It's good that we all remember our own.
I remember how it started off anyway. Because the idea was a roguelike roguelite, right? Which was
which was impossible. Yeah.
There's the castle side, the torpedo side.
Well, give it a second. Wait until you tell them about the different types of weapons you can use.
The idea for this came from watching, the Sam Mendes 1917. The idea of that basically, where you have like a nameless soldier sent off on a mission across the battlefield, and each run that you did with a soldier, you would uncover a new part of the map, whether it was like a fog of war or something, or you had to, like, you could make your way to, was it radio towers? I think we'd said basically. It's kind of like almost like the Assassin's Creed kind of towers where you would then uncover a certain portion of the map, and you had to, like, you would never make it across. You would never like do anything heroic or like win the game with a single soldier. But the idea was that you would try and uncover as much of the map as possible. I
think there were things you could find. It was essentially just suicide missions until you uncovered enough of the map that you thought you could actually make it, right? And you'd go, okay, right, there's an enemy bunker over there, but I don't go that way. Or if I do go that way, I'll go around it to try and uncover something new. Because I know that from my radio ping that I know that there's something there that might help me.
Yeah. But is it always, in theory, could the first soldier, in theory, complete the mission in one run?
I think you could, in the same way that you could complete Outer Wilds in like straight away if you knew what was going on.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean, like because you need that information to actually be able to properly progress. But you could, like, one person out of a million, because there's definitely going to be a million people that play this game.
Right. A million
might be able to make it.
I remember there was another thing as well in which every location you go to is randomized, obviously. But the moment you send them information back and kind of end your run or whatever, when you get to a radio tower, that locks in the route. But if you don't successfully send the information back, you lose the progress that hasn't been saved, and it's all randomized again. So you can't say like, oh, I know the left path is this way, because it's going to be different every time unless you lock it in.
I like the idea of like noble sacrifice, kind of locking in the information, sending the information back. That's quite fun.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, the moment you send the information out, it pings the enemies and they come and get you, basically.
Yeah.
that was the thematic reasoning of like, okay, I'm going to end my run here and just lock it all in, and then I'm going to die. That was, I can't remember if that was
maybe you could survive. Like maybe there was some kind of defense thing, you know, like Left 4 Dead, like the end of Left 4 Dead, you know, where you're having to like wait for the helicopter to arrive or help. But the general idea was that it was trying to
it wasn't a first person. I think if I remember correctly, it was like Project Zomboid, of isometric kind of view.
Right.
Yeah. We talked about that. Like, or maybe I think initially in my head it was third person, just because it was like I just thought like the idea of creating like a roguelite experience out of 1917, basically. Because
what was it called, Alex?
Journey seems like super. It was called Communication Station.
I think there was a slight.
There was a little bit before that.
Oof.
Was it 1917 Communication Station?
This is actually like a licensed tie-in game.
It's a licensed title. Yeah.
I think that's the idea.
There's a couple of them.
I'm not sure this is like quite what Sam Mendes had in mind, that people would go and see his film and be like, yeah, this would make a rad roguelike. Apparently he's a gamer though. I heard him talking on a podcast about how when he filmed 1917, it was quite kind of inspired by playing, like, I think he said, like, Red Dead Redemption 2, in terms of like how you frame a continuous action set piece.
That's the fuck are you doing here then? Get Sam Mendes.
No, he would vote for this one, the official tie-in.
Yeah,
there's too much bias. There's too much bias.
But then we get his official endorsement as well.
That's true.
Oh,
holy shit!
And then why can't we have both
please.
Matt and Sam? And then Matt can have him on his podcast after, and you can talk about Red Dead Redemption.
Both of these things are definitely going to happen.
I'd love if you got Sam Mendes on and he just started dunking on Dungeon Daddy.
I mean, he has taste.
Yeah, but imagine, what if he loved it and his next film was like massively inspired by Dungeon Daddy.
Throwing babies
it's
into
1917, but it's a Scout Baby run. Oh my god!
1917 is the amount of babies he has to use to get that run done in the film.
All right. Look, we're like 15 minutes in, and we've got on to the second game. We need to.
Okay, fine.
We need to ramp it up a bit.
Okay,
1917 Communication Station
versus Mechcom.
It's the sci-fi XCOM mech battler.
It's better than Metcom, I think.
Really?
Well, it's because it doesn't have machine guns and rockets.
Well,
no, it's got both. It's the world.
Probably has like
both.
mud-filled rifles and things, that's a bit different.
It's got grit.
It's always raining.
Does anyone want to fight for Mexcom?
No,
I mean,
it was my idea, and I don't even want
to. I like both equally, I think, for very different reasons. I like 1917's unique take on roguelike elements, I suppose. And I like the idea of the planet turns in Mexcom and also ballistic and rocket weaponry.
So what you want is
that will change the tactics.
Want a 1917 communication station, but there's a day-night cycle and the world has a turn. a tree falls.
I think what I really like is the idea of doing a tie-in of 1917, it being a big success, and then other developers thinking, well, does this open the door for other Sam Mendes films? Because I would love to play a game of Road to Perdition. So that's really where I'm coming from.
Shit, Road to Perdition would be incredible. I'm imagining LA Noire style.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Red Dead
Perdition. That's my first pitch for next year. So it's... All right, so communication station currently pitch of the year. Can we okay with that?
I think currently leading in the PP 2022.
I think it might continue to lead.
Hold on.
Well, yeah. I mean,
at least one.
Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this one is.
That's okay. This was
wasn't this
an amuse-bouche to my main idea. Which was this was when Alex hadn't joined the podcast yet because of technical difficulties. So I threw in a starter, which was just a random thing I had in my Trello list of game ideas. I don't know where this came from, but it was called Metronome, and it's a rhythm game where it's a gnome doing gnome things. That was it. I had written nothing else.
I think we've already spoken about it more than we did in the actual episode.
We should move quickly on to what my actual idea was.
Whoa. How does this compare to 1917?
They're doing World War I things
the imagination at all?
versus doing gnome things.
In a rhythm game, though. I don't remember this one. I'm going to be honest, James. I'm so sorry.
I think I'd seen the play date, the little like yellow handheld console, and I was like, it's got that crank on it. So I was like, oh, you could just do a gnome fishing or a gnome. I think, as you rightly said, a gnome flashing people driving past their front garden. I don't.
So, but it was a it was in a rhythm game sense. I remember. Yeah, I remember now.
There's a crank come into that.
To the beat of a song, you. Open robe, close robe. Open robe, close robe.
Oh, that's I'm kind of a little. Part of me wants to interrogate why you so quickly went to gnomes and the incredibly ambiguous gnome things as the source of this game.
It's because I thought of Metronome first and was like, oh that would be a good title
like
for
a backronym.
Yeah,
there we go. That's the whole thing. We could. I mean, does it beat 1917? Communication station.
I mean, it's not even a game. It's just not. We don't even know what it is. We didn't talk about it long enough.
So my actual pitch for this episode was called Battle Bits, and it was a beat 'em up, akin to Duck Game or Smash, and you would build a mech suit out of random parts that you'd get in between rounds, and you'd just fight each other. That was it. You swap out parts, and so you can have a cobbled together kind of mech suit. You'd have a head, a torso, and legs, and maybe you'd get bonuses for collecting a whole set. I was thinking along the lines of like the guns in oh my god, it's completely gone from my head. Borderlands.
You could have a machine gun on your left and then rockets on your right.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there'd be bonuses for pairing up the brands of the different suit pieces, and it would be a bit of a free-for-all in between rounds to try and grab pieces. And then we kind of diverted to, maybe you collect the pieces during the round for use next turn.
Yeah.
And then a listener actually then posted to say, well, this game exists, and it was called Medabots X on the Game Boy Advanced.
Right.
So
Medabots
something. But yeah, I thought
I'd not heard
fun
of that.
little beating each other up, seeing the parts of the mech
Are you in
fly
the
off.
suit, or are you building a robot?
You're building a robot, and
Right.
that was it. It was like Scrap Heap Challenge meets Robot Wars, I think was the
I think
part of the pitch.
Picking up new bits for your mech gave you new abilities, but there was also, if you went for a particularly explosive build with rockets again, then you in the sort of in between battle stages, I think you sent your engineers out for some reason to run around a factory to try and grab the pieces off the other players.
That's it, yeah.
To build your mech stronger. So you would then aim for more explosive augmentation to make your stuff better. But if you end up with just a mess of shit, then you're probably not going to win. You might do, but your mech comparatively to everyone else's sucks.
I don't know why. It reminds me of there was that Great British Bake Off one last year where there was like a very normal cake building element, which is the heart of the game. But then there was like also a bit where people ran around just like fucking up each other's cakes. That seems to be a theme here. People fuck up other people's hard, careful work.
It was the Paul Hollywood bone cake.
That's right.
Forcing him to eat bones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
And one other thing I'll say is that the parts that you have will break down over time. So, if you're particularly into your build, the parts will wear out. So it kind of encourages swapping parts. That was it.
A party game beat 'em up platformer where you build mechs.
I actually really like this. I think it sounds like it could be pretty solid. It's like a little party game with like actual like surprise, like decent depth to it.
I could see it existing. I tell you what, this is one of those games where when it gets announced, I think, if it had like EA behind it, whatever, that could be massive. But who releases a multiplayer kind of robot building game in this climate? It's going to be tough for them. So I can see it, but I can also see it's like inevitable failure.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the game. Just it's so hard to break into that. Like who can break into the multiplayer space in this day and age?
So this is a sad missing game that really should have got more attention and love, but
the tagline for our studio will be inevitable failure from now on. I think that would be good. But does it beat Communication Station? Sorry, 1917.
Anyone want to? I mean, the full title, please.
Yeah, I do really like this one. I like the it kind of taps into a little bit of the Vampire Survivors kind of thing as well, of seeing these upgrades and thinking, right, I need this upgrade for my mech because it's going to augment my weapons this much. It's going to make me run faster, whatever else. It ties in perfectly with my build, quote unquote. And I think that could be really exciting with loads of different variations. Like you said, Borderlands style weaponry. I guess that just means completely randomized stats across the board for everything or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a grenade, but it's really sarcastic.
So snarky. I think it again, like Matt was saying, if it's made well, I think it will do well, but it's just...
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's so wise.
I think it does beat it just on the grounds I can, regardless of how it does once you've released it. That isn't for this podcast to say. I can see it. I can sort of see it as a thing.
There isn't a lot for this podcast to say, really.
No game we ever discuss will ever get released. Well, what will happen is the games that we discuss, there'll be similar things that are released.
Right.
And then everyone will spam us with...
I genuinely think that the games from the expanded Castle universe would all be genuine like winners. That's the thing. I think they're legit good.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we have pitched games that have eventually come out. Just we didn't make them. Potionomics, a great example.
Potionomics is the closest one. That genuinely is.
Yeah, but that
identical.
Just to clarify it, that was announced 2 weeks after that podcast went out. So unless they did a really quick job, I'm pretty sure that game was in development for quite a while.
I'm not saying we made it or they stole it. I'm saying that we pitched a game. It's now out and playable. And it's almost identical.
I smell a lawsuit. I think you guys should go for it.
We should.
What was the Vampire Hotel one as well? Can't remember.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. I forgot about
Bed and
that.
Neckfest, I think we called it.
Bed and Neckfest was
Bed
what
and
we
Neck
called
remember
it.
there was an
I can't remember the
E3
actual
that we all watched around the same time as each other, and immediately we sent like
You were
multiple
like, what
messages
the
like,
fuck?
"This game, we fucking pitched this game," and that happened so many times throughout E3.
Battle Bits. Is this winning? Is this the
I think
current?
this is the current leader.
It's the best game of the year.
All right. 1917 Communication Station. See ya.
Salute,
Battle Bits. You're in.
salute to 1917.
A gun salute into the air, firing this game.
The Germans have
into the-
found it and have killed it.
It's been executed.
We will revisit its grave every year out of respect.
All right. Look, Battle Bits, the current leader, and that takes us on to Future Flower. Tom,
yeah,
do you know,
I think this is when we realized that maybe getting the devs to pitch ideas constantly is not a sustainable way to run a podcast. So we started opening it up to the broader audience of 3 people. And the first one we have now, I remember in the heady days of the PP Awards 2021, there was a chess idea, Matt, and you said that anyone that comes up with a chess idea deserves a swirly. So I'd like to know what you think of a Sudoku tower defense game.
Oh, well, I quite like Sudoku, so
Oh, okay, that's acceptable.
yeah, because you play it by yourself.
Right. Okay.
I just don't think dweeb should like compete. You know, just keep it to
Well,
yourself.
is that what Future Flower was? I didn't
Well,
remember
that's
that.
not what Future Flower was. But
This was
I think Future Flower.
This was a multi-pitch episode.
This was a
so
multi-pitch
Okay.
one.
Several ideas here.
Yeah, but the Sudoku Tower Defense one, I don't think we ever really locked in on exactly what it was because we couldn't marry the two together.
Right.
Because you had to
Right.
solve quite difficult Sudokus as time went on, but in a tower defense format, I think that's how you defeated enemies before they got to you. But we all said, like, we can't solve a medium to hard Sudoku in anything less than 15 minutes. So the games must last fucking forever.
Yeah.
If there's just loads of enemies on screen or whatever. I can't remember exactly how we locked this one in, unless anyone else
I think we quickly moved on from it. I'm sorry, but I found it really boring. So we moved on from it. And the second brief idea, which was a game where the graphics and the sound and everything gets better as you progress through it, was also a mini amuse-bouche to the core idea, which we all loved. Which was you go to the core idea. We don't want any of these fucking starters. We don't want the extra bits. We want the meat and
main
potatoes.
course only, please.
Which was a game where you can jump through dimensions, and it's a bit of a Assassin's Creed multiplayer kind of thing where you are being chased by a hunter, and think hide and seek. I guess is like you're trying to hide in another dimension, but as you jump through to a new dimension, you leave like a tear in reality and they can follow you through. And you'd have to like beat people up to steal their clothes to kind of blend into different timelines or, different dimensions. Things might look very different. That was the main idea.
Wait, no, was this the one where, hang on, I might be thinking of a different game that we've pitched here where you went back in time and if you say you destroyed a building, then the people in the present and the future, the building would be destroyed and that would kill them. Is that a different game?
No, it's the same one.
I think that was
evolve into that afterwards.
Feature creep.
Yeah, it evolved into that where you'd be, I think we were like, wouldn't it be cool if I jumped off of a building in the future, but then time jumped to the past knowing that there was
a building for me to land on.
A haystack
I feel like
to land on.
It turned into just an arena FPS game.
Yes,
with
that's
the
exactly.
Titanfall campaign.
Every map had multiple eras to them.
Yeah. But I think initially it was basically just like a hide and seek kind of thing, but like it was the Assassin's Creed multiplayer, but being able to jump in through different dimensions or different times.
I really like the idea of turning up in a new dimension and like scrabbling to get a sort of foothold in it or safety in it. Like you have to get different clothes. That's fun. Also, like the potential in like the different like tech levels of different societies and different dimensions, and like how that would change the game. You know, the idea that you could have the upper hand, but you go through a dimension and all of a sudden, you know, for some wrinkle in that world, what you have is no longer good, or the shit thing you had is now really good for whatever reason. Yeah, that could be cool. I just really like Assassin's Creed multiplayer and wish there was more things like it.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to that. Why has that not come back as like a thing?
I don't know.
I just feel like
Ubisoft decisions.
Like there wasn't. But just that like gameplay style that I just feel like I haven't seen that taken and put into many other games, and it was so good. And everyone that I've spoken to who's played it, like, just loves it so much. I'm just really surprised that there hasn't been.
Played Spy Party. That's quite good.
Yeah.
I have played Spy Party. Yeah.
That's also like hidden in plain sight on. I think that was like an Xbox arcade game. That was very good as well.
That was a great game.
It's weirdly like a genre that just hasn't got nearly as much love as I think it should have. And by that I mean I want it to be oversaturated with shit.
Like this game.
I think in this podcast.
No, like this game that we're pitching.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
works with both.
So this never really kind of. I feel like we never fully landed on exactly what this is, but we all kind of agreed on the idea of this Assassin's Creed style game moving between like times was a cool idea. I don't know if that's enough to then take away from something like BattleBits, right? Which feels more of a kind of, you know, a solid. Okay, I know what the game is.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the first time we can happily say that something defends their title, and BattleBits is still leading the pack. James, well done, James.
And now at the Game Awards, we're going to have a full orchestra play the theme from BattleBits to celebrate the half an hour mark.
It wouldn't be good.
Okay, we've got two mini ones here, which I don't know if they were also on. I don't know how many. Like, we must have done a rapid fire episode or something.
We must have done
rapid fire, like 4-pitch episode of just fan ones.
Well, let's not even put them in the competition, but at least give them an honourable mention. Who wants to just read this next one? Who wants to?
All right, look, I'm going to immediately qualify it after I've said it. It's called. James has written here, Slave Simulator.
Pass the blame straight away.
/place. But
I did my homework. The idea, that's the problem.
The idea was using other people to build. It was like our place, but you're creating like actual structures, not actual physical objects, but you're creating structures.
Yeah.
That have some kind of like physicality to them, like have like a physics to them. So you're building pyramids was the thing that we came up with.
Well, provided the people put the right stuff in, and they probably wouldn't. It was just seeing what the world would create if it was given, instead of just one pixel on our place, actual 3D objects,
and materials as well, right? And you had like there were things like components that you would have to. So some people would be like it was kind of almost like an idle game. I think there were bits where there were people like, okay, so you would have to if you're just commuting or something, you get at your phone and you just like go through this little mini game where you're creating a component that is then used in the final build. Like that component will go to someone else who then helps build, the next bit.
You could craft the shape as well. That was a thing. Like it would come up on your phone, like it's time to build your block, and you would like cut into it and shape it and paint it and whatever else, and then you just throw it into the world.
This sounds like a reversed version of Peter Molyneux's "What's Inside the Cube."
You were trying to build the cube.
Where instead of everyone's digging into a cube, everyone's building a landscape. And also in that game, like Peter Molyneux is in the center of the cube. I quite like the idea of a game where humanity is collectively like further imprisoning Peter Molyneux, like burying him deeper and deeper in a structure.
Get in there. You can come out when you stop lying.
Milo's in there. He's waiting.
Okay, I mean that's kind of all we had. I feel like there's there's not much more that there is to like. I do actually kind of like this idea, but we just never really got anywhere more with it.
We were worried that because it's community led, that everyone would just be building penises the whole time. So it was like, doesn't.
We never managed to solve that problem.
Solve the penis problem.
But imagine if like in r/plays there started to be these wars, and all of a sudden they start shoving all these dicks into the corner. And so people can build like their own nice little community in the center, and then suddenly the dick uprising
community
and they start
surrounded by dicks.
It's
a wonderful place to be on the internet. The old cock archipelago, the southwest.
All right, all right. Look, this clearly isn't going to take over from Battle Bits because it's not really a proper thing. Which is becoming a running theme of these like quick fire ones. There's also another one I'm not even going to explain. We've just got a line here that says hamster ball silly game.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Remembers that and wants to explain to us what it was, please let us know. However, I want to begin pitching this one because I know Tom is immediately going to poo-poo it because of how much he hated it at the time.
Whoa.
But the initial idea... The initial idea was you are a colony of moles, I think.
Right.
It was moles. Yeah, it was moles who are escaping from aggressive badgers who are after you.
Yeah.
But that was the whole setup. But basically the idea was you live, it's a colony sim where you live on the outskirts of a dark and scary kind of fantastical forest. And there's this element of, the whole Timberborn thing. Have you played Timberborn, Matthew?
I haven't, no.
Where it's like, it's beavers, right? But you're making this, this colony.
But this one's
just a beaver colony sim. But there are different, but you have to kind of like prepare your colony to weather the seasons. And this is the same kind of thing, but instead of seasons, there's going to be like the onslaught of badgers who are going to attack you. There's like a countdown for an attack. And the idea is that there's like on one side, there's kind of like this fairly chill, relaxed city builder or town builder.
Right.
But it's just moles. And the other element is that you, in order to make your town defensible or to make it better and to progress, you need to go into the forest to find supplies, to find magical spells and upgrades or whatever. And within that, there's this kind of sense of danger of you don't know what's in there, and there are lots of weird creatures. So it's a very risk reward thing. You might be able to find like even some creatures that you can convince to come back and help you defend, or you might lose your whole scouting party. But like it's and as you progress through the forest, you have to make the decision. Do I just send one scout out, and that's super dangerous because they're probably going to die, or do I send more of these moles out? But then that makes me like more vulnerable. That makes my town more vulnerable to attack.
What's gained from them being moles and not people?
Well,
so
I remember this.
Yeah. I remember when we did just a smidge of research.
And it was like, badgers and moles, they get along quite well.
They get along just fine, badgers and moles.
Great.
And what's more, moles famously, I think, don't work together.
Yeah,
I think that's another thing.
Yeah, they don't like being in groups. And also, they can't see.
This is a fantasy. This is a fantasy world. No, but that's where the fog of war came into the.
Yeah, but the fog of war is like
right. It's
that. You can't see shit.
War is like
10 centimeters in front of their eyes.
So it doesn't have to be moles. I just thought it was nice. I just thought it was nice to have. Like it was something. Just made it something slightly more like the idea that it was just like this world of
it's really nice
animals
of badgers tearing moles to shreds with their mouth.
I just have like this Armello sense of like, that kind of Armello, like the color scheme and like the look of it and the general kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, we just said that moles were cute, and then Chris linked me a picture of a star-nosed mole. And I've ever since I fucking hate moles. I want nothing to do with moles.
I just struggle to see a game with a big mole on the thumbnail or the box. Like anyone picking that up and being like, oh yeah, nice, a mole game at last.
So this is Tom's rate. That was pretty much Tom's reaction as well.
The title, though, there are billions of badges. So the box art is going to be badges, right?
Billions of badges.
Does that?
Well, no, but that's misleading because then you're like, oh wow, badges. I like badges. I don't really care for them, but if I did like them, I'd be like, sweet, a game with a load of badges. What it doesn't tell you is a game with a load of badges that are going to like tear you to shreds because you're playing as deeply unpleasant moles instead.
No, but the thing that I liked was this idea that there were like these mystical beasts in the forest. And you would go and make alliances with them. So you'd trade things with them and they would give you spells and things and you'd build tunnels into the forest and expand into that.
Exactly. Yeah, that was quite nice. It almost becomes a fighting fantasy story at the point where you head into the forest. You're kind of like, you have to pick these options. You're basing this
heavily on Above and Below, the board game,
Above and Below, the board game, yeah.
But I also recall...
Is it a bit Redwall?
Yes, I guess there is kind of Redwall-y about it. I mean, maybe that could be the new theme of it, right? Maybe it's a Redwall themed game
tie-in. I also recall there being, I think when we tried to tweak the idea a bit, there was elements of a city builder that you would occasionally have to pack up and move. And you would then choose what buildings you could take with you, what resources you could take with you, and whatever else. And you had to make a choice of like going either dangerous routes into the forest, but you knew that it was, I don't know, say fertile land, or there were particular resources that you needed to sustain your current constructions. But, maybe the timer before the badger uprising is much shorter or whatever else. So it was kind of a city builder where it wasn't so in depth as you're playing it for 6 hours and then you lose, but you construct, deconstruct, move, construct, deconstruct, move, and you were kind of a roving camp rather than
you weren't tied to that one city. Like I think almost the idea of like that the feeling that you get when you start a new, or at least when I start like a new city builder or a town builder, there's that element of like, oh, like anything could happen. Like that's the most fun part of starting a new town or a new city and trying to recreate that feeling.
Every time
throughout the game,
every 15 minutes.
How does that sound?
I don't know. I just can't get over the mole thing.
Can't get over the moles. All right, look, you're not alone. No one else could either.
Okay. What if we switched it out? You are badgers, and you're being attacked by moles. Starface moles.
Yeah, maybe. I just think it would.
What animals do you like?
Snuffing around in dirt and I don't know.
You are. What's your favorite animal? What's your spirit animal?
I'm just not a big animal guy. I don't see an animal idea winning this.
Patronus. Okay. Well,
if it's a badger in the mech from Battle Bits,
badger
bits.
That was his entire pitch right there.
Is billions of badgers? Is anyone going to fight for billions of badgers over battle bits?
I would.
I would.
But
it sounds like it's going to be 2 against 3.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of felt like it was a game that Alex and I would like to play. I think that is like got some story. It's got some like cute animals in it. Wholesome. It feels like it would be nice. But yeah, I would pick it over my stupid idea.
Shit, we've actually got a competition here. Chris, what do you think?
Chris is
I said no.
Matt?
Matthew's a no.
Yeah, I will say I'd be very surprised if either of these go all the way to the end, so it doesn't matter.
It's very futile, you're right.
I would hope that there is a better idea than both of these somewhere left.
Don't you worry.
Uh-oh.
There is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Okay.
There is, 100% is.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
we could throw a bone in which case and say, sure, let it have a couple of rounds.
I'm neither yes nor no. I think they both have they both have very interesting sort of ideas around them. This is the problem. I think this happens every time where it's like Battle Bits is a great party game. And there are billions of badgers despite the themes of it and fucking moles. I think there were some elements of that. I like packing up the city and moving on and trying to change up the city construction sort of genre. And God, I think I'm gonna have to go with Battle Bits though. It's just a good game. It's just more complete in my head. I think because it ended up being so many different ideas. There are billions of badges. That I've got a stronger idea of what Battle Bits is.
Battle Bits, congratulations, James, again. Hey, maybe you're going to go all the way through to the end.
If we do that, I can never make it because, well, maybe it's proof that I should make it one day. Anyway,
if we go through to the end, you have to make it.
Yeah,
if it wins.
It won't. That's the deal. I'm feeling pretty safe.
I'm going to give the winning idea £100 million.
Oh my God.
How's that? Let's raise the stakes a bit, eh?
All that back page Patreon money.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, look, the next one. Tom, I feel like, was this a you idea or was this just an idea that you were into?
I'm pretty sure this was a me idea. Because now I remember this. I remember the beginning of this pitch because I went into the episode so confident. Like, this is the idea and I have it so strong in my head and I think it's a really fucking cool game. And then I started talking. And I realized I couldn't communicate what the idea was because it may have been a fever dream. But this is Snorkelmon, Legend of the Mew 3, where it's a fake Pokemon game where you are hunting for the legendary special card, Mew 3, and it's a card collection Pokemon-like where you try and gather the set, eke out fakes, and trade with car boots. I think we brought up that game, I can't remember the name of it now.
Cardboard Kings.
Cardboard Kings, where you run a
that happens twice.
Selling shop.
We bring it up again.
Cardboard Kings comes up again, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
Very original.
It does, yeah, actually, now I remember.
It does, yeah.
And you are a grown man who finds in his shed a collection of old Pokemon, Snorkelmon cards. And you are suddenly hit with the dream of building a complete Snorkelmon deck. And in the story that follows, you try to find all these different legendary cards. Some turn out to be fake, some turn out to be real. Some cost a lot more than others. And also you have a nemesis who potentially he had the rarest, most expensive card, and I think at a young age he stole it from you. And the goal was to try and get the legendary Mew 3 back.
There was also a fully fledged actual game, like you could play it to win cards, right?
Yes.
And then
we hadn't really decided about that.
Also remember, this is the episode where you divulged that you painted your own pseudo-woodo and then gave
painted? No. I printed it out on A4 and then sticked it onto an energy card. And for some reason, despite it looking obviously fucking shit, everyone in school really wanted it. So I managed to get like a Blastoise out of it. I also stole a Tentacruel out of someone's pocket in front of me in a.
You traded a fake Pokemon card.
For a real one, a shiny Blastoise.
What a scumbag.
It's not a scumbag move. Like, that was a legit trade. I had the goods. They had the goods. We both had what each person wanted. It was honest. It was fair. They knew it was fake because obviously it was poorly
what about the
printed.
Bit where you stole a card out of someone's pocket?
That was a crime. That was a crime.
That anecdote's not quite as cute.
No, that one's not. No, that one does keep me up at night.
There was something that I really liked about this episode. This idea. The idea of creating, like, from a design perspective, the idea of designing and creating like a completely fake card game sounded really fun. And then this idea that it had fallen into obscurity and no one plays it anymore. And then the story behind it and the gameplay of trying to collect, like going through eBay and like, oh, I want to bid on this. Like, everything would be obviously terrible. That's the thing. It would be a bad game, but it would fallen into like this cult.
That was the thing. No one played it anymore.
Yeah,
no one cared about it anymore.
It's quite a fun hook. I'm surprised someone hasn't done just Pokemon, but it is a card game or something. Is that what that Cardboard Kings is? Or is that something else?
So Cardboard Kings is basically a shop management game with a bit of narrative in, where you just run like it's basically like a fake Magic the Gathering store.
People come in and sell their.
It's quite simple.
Sell their cards to you, and then you can then resell them for higher prices, and they all have rarities and quality levels and stuff. Like if one comes in fucking scuffed and shit, then whatever.
I think that there was just that connection of like something about like that nostalgic feel of like being, it's like remembering your old toys when you were a kid, and it's and, having that attachment to it, like having that narrative side of it, of like having to go around the map, right, the city or your hometown, wherever it is, and speak to different people about searching for different cards, like trying to find your perfect deck of a game that no one gives a shit about anymore.
Every time you find a new card, you then get a flashback to your childhood.
Yes, that was what we. We had actually talked about that. Yeah,
every single card is tied to a very specific and dramatic memory from your childhood.
I don't know.
You're looking out the window, you see a man getting murdered, and the camera pans down, and there's one of the Snorkelmon cards on the windowsill.
But that feels like you just. In theory, you could find like a whole box of unopened Snorkelmon packets, and you wouldn't want to open it in the game because you know it's going to trigger like 15 hours of flashbacks.
Death Stranding.
And you're like, I can't be dealing with that. Like that's just that.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have it that like every time you complete 10% of the overall collection, it unlocks one memory.
I feel like it's certain cards, right? It's specific
it wasn't every
cards
single card.
It's like certain shiny cards that you have a certain attachment to your.
Every duplicate you have to watch the same
unskippable
one
as well. Okay, look, this one, like I know, isn't quite as fully formed an idea. It's a bit more nebulous than Battle Bits is, but I do really like it as well. I do.
That world
has a pull,
like the world of something slightly forgotten, like car boot sales. I can't think of another game where I've gone to a car boot sale. That would be fun. Like the kind of news agents you'd be going to, because it wouldn't be like legit Tesco's. It would have to be like weird local news agents. They've got very particular energy to them.
No chains.
I'm not sure what the game is, but I really like the setting of it. But it wouldn't be this feels like something that someone must be working on somewhere. Like there is this big nostalgia. There's that game with where you paint the miniatures and things. It feels like people are beginning to like mine those kind of experiences for games a bit more. Someone must be doing like football cards or Pokemon cards or stickers, kind of collecting games somewhere. It should be you. You should get on top of it.
I would love to hear Phil Spencer talk about car boot sales on the big stage.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Just him, not Reggie anymore. I was going to say him, Reggie, and like Shuhei Yoshida, just at a car boot sale.
Yeah, Al Pacino to come out and talk about car boot sales. Like at the Game Awards.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
All right, so Snorkelmon Legend of the Mew 3.
A horrible name, I will say. Snorkelmon is an incredibly irritating name. Like, I don't really know what you're trying to do with that. That's just like that. When I heard that, I was like, this entirely sucks.
I was put on the spot, and for some reason, that's the first thing I could think of.
Really? Why snorkel?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a snorkel on my desk.
It's just a diver.
Does this dethrone Battle Bits?
For me, yes.
Wow. Okay.
I agree. It has my vote.
I would say, it's time for a dethroning.
I personally also agree that going to a car boot sale in a game would be great.
Tom?
I mean, it's my idea, technically. So I don't know. It feels weird to
I'll stop showboating and say yes.
I still like battle bits. But I'm happy to be in the lead for once in a PP Awards.
Yeah, you've actually just gotten relative praise from Matthew Castle, who usually responds to your ideas with this noise.
Yeah.
I responded with that noise to the title for sure.
Well, I'll happily accept your nomination.
Snorkelmon,
Snorkelmon,
Legend of the Mew 3.
Currently
the subtitle's even worse.
Legend of the Mew 3.
Let's move on.
Let's move on because you're going to love this title. Fjord Focus. Now I remember this one was also a me idea because I remember crafting in games kind of sucks for the most part. Like it's in every single game and every single one has done it exactly the same way. You have 3 ingredients, you press a button or you hold a button down and it crafts it. That's it. The idea for this one was to make crafting a kind of mini game. And I think we, for some reason, just locked into Bejeweled for whatever reason. But everything you craft, you put the ingredients in, sticks, stones, wood, whatever else. And the better you play the mini game, the better the item comes out. And I think it became almost, I want to say Factorio-like. I don't think it was as far as that. But the world that you were, or the village that you were constructing, or the weapons that you were constructing, or whatever it was, I can't remember exactly. Oh no, you're building a town for Vikings, apparently.
You were building a town for Vikings, and eventually you got far enough through the technology tree that you could build cars. Hence why I said Fjord Focus.
Right.
That's where the game name came from.
But if you put better resources in there, higher tier sticks or whatever, I don't fucking, then the mini game that you play will obviously be easier. But as a way of, I don't know, showcasing your crafting ability, there's much more variation in a mini game than just you can craft this now, you can't craft this now, or whatever. It was just a way to make crafting interesting, and that's as far as I remember Fjord Focus being.
I think beyond that, it was basically a kind of town builder, but you had, because didn't you have certain there was almost countdowns or timers for, like, you had to.
Yeah, it's when the next set of Vikings were coming in.
The next boatload of Vikings would be coming in. So you had certain goals, like I have to create this many beds or this many, or barracks, or I don't know, whatever Vikings. The Vikings have barracks. I don't know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay, I have to create a Viking barracks and a Viking restaurant,
famously,
and they obviously have cars.
Viking cars.
So I don't know if there was that much more to this one.
I think it was a game mechanic that I wanted to see in the Bejeweled-esque crafting.
I sort of get where it's coming from. I can sort of see the logic of, like, just pressing A to craft is boring, but then replacing just pressing A with quite a lengthy Bejeweled game every time you want to craft. I just think after 10 rounds of it, you'll be wishing you could just press A to craft again.
Well, that was the thing. There was a part of it where if you've crafted it once, then future craft will be at that level. But maybe as time goes on, you're like, I've my crafting ability, quote unquote, which I guess in terms of a game of, say, Bejeweled, would be more turns to allow you to get more points, or I don't know, you are able to swap things further, or whatever else, some other
it's more creating
crazy
the
way
blueprints.
to. Yeah, but if you decide I can do this much better now, you play the game again for that item, and then it's better for every future craft, where it does just turn into press A to craft, just like you did before.
Right.
Yeah, so there was a thought of, I don't want to play fucking Bejeweled again. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was actually a full game there beyond village Viking town game.
Yeah, the title fires my imagination in a way that I don't know if the game like delivers on. I'm like, Fjord Focus. Oh, I'm going to be driving a car around like a gorgeous Nordic landscape, and then I'm actually, playing a lot of Bejeweled to make a spade.
Yeah.
Can you sort of see why that wouldn't be great?
Yeah, it's the badger mole scenario again.
Well, we've got the opposite here because the title and the cover art of There Are Billions of Badgers you hated and the game was fine. Whereas this, it's the opposite where the title is much better than the game itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, is this gonna topple Snorkelmon for anyone?
Not for me.
Nah.
No.
I want to see it. I want to see more unique takes on things that are just in every fucking game at the moment that no one is revolutionizing in any way.
I think the intent
that's
was
all I wanted.
admirable because I do think crafting in games is boring. Like it could be made interesting. I think I said at the time, I don't know if Bejeweled is the answer, but I'm sure there is an answer.
I think you can say about a lot of things.
Well, look, Field Focus didn't work out. Snorkelmon.
Fuck off.
But Snorkelmon, your other idea currently in the lead.
I can't
which leads
believe
us on to the next
you should have
episode.
seen the original pitch. It was a mess.
So we're into June now.
Matt, do you like Bob's Burgers, Matt?
No, not really.
Oh, well,
Cool.
This is the one I thought you would like.
Oh,
Because this,
I think you are going to like this one.
This is Bob's Murders.
Well, the names caught my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
So in this one, you run a burger van, and someone else's food truck. I think they've been murdered, if I remember correctly.
Right.
No. It was your customer.
Oh, it was a customer that's been murdered.
Yeah.
Customer's been
Oh,
murdered.
a customer's been murdered. And you have to basically interrogate the other customers to figure out who did it by serving them food and like having chats to them, but also noticing clues that link up to their orders and what they order. I think that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you think people's guilt manifests through their burger orders?
Yeah, but he's like,
Almost definitely, yeah.
That man, he was found with pickles on his eyes. You're like, oh, that guy orders pickles.
Yeah.
I like the
I think
idea
I butchered this.
I like the idea of an unusual detective and like a burger chef and the limited interactions he has to crack a crime. I don't know if I'd want all those crimes to be burger related. I don't think
they were.
Be a bit of a turn off for me.
You could also move your food truck to different locations to get new
you
people.
could, yeah.
It was like staking out. You would stake out people, right? In
Oh,
different
that's
areas.
fun. But
also,
that's good.
yeah, you also have a period of time where you can talk to them and interrogate them and whatever else.
Yeah.
But you only have a limited amount of time because they're waiting for their food.
That's right.
So you want to interrogate them for just long enough before they get angry that they haven't received their burger yet.
You can't serve them bad food either, otherwise they won't come back and you'll lose dialogue
Yeah.
options. And then you can upsell. I remember that. Where you could be like, oh, do you want onions with that? So you can get a bit more time to, to question.
And also, I think as the game progressed, more murders happened. So more of your customers went missing until the very end of the game when only one customer keeps coming back. And if you haven't solved it by then,
You die.
I
You get
mean,
murdered.
yeah, then they kill you.
Oh,
I think we twisted this into something worse than the initial pitch, which was
Can you remember the original?
basically just. Well, I think the initial pitch was. It wasn't like the murders weren't anything to do with your customers. It was just you were trying to solve a crime that was somehow related to you, and you happened to be to own a burger van.
Yeah.
And so you use that as a reason to stake out different places.
But yeah, like the idea of like a crime has happened in a town and you have a burger van, so you have an excuse to be all over that town. That's legit. I'm into that.
There we go.
You could have.
All right.
You could have. I've got an image of like Phoenix Wright style court encounters, except instead of two people standing behind their stands, it's two people in opposite hatches yelling at each other from two different vans.
I love it.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about like rival vans.
Another detective, but
Hot
a
dogs.
kebab van that is also a detective.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see how long
okay.
it would take
Entire-
for Ace Attorney to turn up. In whatever method.
Yeah, I like this. I love
Or
murder
thrown into a
mysteries,
courtroom.
and I love fast food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Food.
Yeah.
Well,
What if,
good combo then.
No.
What if this was Hotel Dusk, but you're in a now got your attention, but you're in a burger van.
You're in a burger van. The thing about Hotel Dusk is like there's a lot of like excitement from walking around the hotel, and there's lots of rooms you can't get in until much later in the game. In like a burger van, there's just not enough real estate for that to work. because it's like the burger van and the driver's cab, and then you're like, I wonder what's through that door, and it's like it's the steering wheel. That's all there is through there. That's the big reveal at 10 hours. You're like, oh yeah, that's where my stuff is. It's the front of the van.
You speak to different people, and they're like, I simply can't divulge that information until I get pickles, and you're like, I don't have access to pickles yet.
I need to drive to that part of town.
Okay, is this winning out? What is
it's for me, but thoughts? This is just this is like so in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I did like Lost Murders. Yeah, I'd pick it over.
I like it, but I don't know if it for me. I don't know if it like beats the that nostalgic rush that I would be getting from Snorkelmon.
Oh, I think it does.
Worlds without the game at the moment.
True,
but Burger Detective as a fantasy is like. I'd rather solve a crime than go to a car boot sale.
That's the clip we're going to use in the Twitter preview bit.
That's a nail in the coffin right there.
Combine the two and have me solving crimes at a car boot sale.
I mean, you go to a car boot sale, there are a lot of food trucks. So,
I mean, now we're talking.
There you go.
All right, well, let's run nostalgia into nostalgia. It's Snorkelmon versus... because I assume Snorkelmon's won that one. VH Sim. VHS Im.
This
VH Sim.
Personal favourite of mine, because it was my idea.
yeah, it was, yeah.
This was basically a simulator of running a Blockbuster rental store in the 90s, where we initially just thought about like first person, I think.
Yeah.
But the idea was that you would have like, you would start off. It wasn't Blockbuster. It was like you were like the non-chain, local VHS store, and you were dying out. Blockbuster was taking over. You had to find ways to keep your customers interested. You could, you could take risks by going into video nasties, selling all that stuff. You could you have to think of your own marketing. Like you can design posters and put them up. You have to figure out where the how each area is designed. Like, where do you want the horror? You don't want to put the horror up front because you might people won't come in with their families because it will scare the kids. You need to figure out where things go. You decide on the sales. You decide on the posters. You have to talk to the suppliers to get things in stock. So you have to make sure you get the best, the current blockbusters in, but also people come to you to look for a little bit, something a little bit better or a little bit more interesting than just the big stuff that you find at Blockbuster. So you've got to cater to those guys as well. And each person is it's small enough that you can have individual relationships with the customers. They'll be calling you up and asking you for I can't bring this back. Sorry. I'll have to wait another week, and you can decide whether to fine them or whether to ban them.
Cut their card was a very big moment in the game, cutting a card and stopping them from coming back.
Yeah. So basically, it's all that, the trials and tribulations of running a video rental store in the early 90s. That was, I think, pretty much it.
Ooh.
Was there anything else?
I think the thing that really gripped me was the how it was based in history. So there would be people outside protesting if you had the video nasty section out back, or if you you had to deal with people bootlegging your stuff, or not rewinding the tapes, or trying to steal stuff. I think, and having you'd have your computer with a list of people's rentals. So a customer would come in and you'd be like, let me just look at what you've rented in the past. And then you could make recommendations and try and
build. The recommendations.
That was the thing that really drew me to it. And
someone would come in and be like, oh, I feel like something, I just want something a bit fun tonight. Yeah. And then you, based on how you know them, you have to figure out, I think the right kind of movie for them.
Mechanically, I think every film or everything you rented out to them had tags applied to them,
genre tags and things.
Yeah.
But also we had that when you did the put things on the shelves, you could view the tapes, and there would all be mock versions of real films.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Yes. So it would require a lot of artwork, a lot of bespoke artwork.
It would be a lot of puns, and I was in love with that. I want to do the little simplified VHS covers and things like that.
And the one from the thumbnail was a murder mystery in a tennis court, and it was called Wimbledoomed.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does everyone feel about this, thinking back?
I love this idea, and this is great.
Okay.
I have a lot of nostalgia for video shops, though, and particularly like looking at video cases, looking at all the video art. That would be a big part of the appeal. I love like nerdy recommendations. You'd have like, really good potential to do some sort of fun, sort of subtle storytelling with the kind of customers or other stuff around you. I think that's that's really cool.
I feel like there's almost that element. There's almost like a really like being able to customize the store how you want it, and then walk around is kind of almost like a nerdier, more pathetic version of building like the like a roller coaster, and then doing the first person view of that of it. Just being able to like wander around and be like, oh yeah, I've put this. This is the customer experience from when you walk through the door. This is what they're going to be seeing and stuff. Like it's just and just kind of like just trying to cater this, trying to create a perfect video store for your community.
This was FMV.
Oh yeah, it was going to be FMV, wasn't it?
Oh. Yeah, because I remember we said that the way that you sort of navigate the store wasn't necessarily just like a first-person game. It was kind of like Myst, right? Yeah, you click an area, you move forward, you look to the right, you look to the left, whatever else, and it was kind of fixed movements. And then for some reason we said that the customers that come in was all FMV
with that video grain applied over them and the playback glitches.
For the type of game that it is, it could work really well with just really poor quality VHS style people walking in. But it's a lot of content that you need to film for every single customer.
Yeah, the customer stuff could totally, but I don't know how the other stuff would work. Like actually being able to like place, the VHSs and stuff down. Like that stuff would have to be like in engine, like all 3D.
Yeah, it was just the customers that stuff, you FMV'd for that. Yeah.
Just customers.
They're green screened in.
Wandering around, sure. I see.
Yeah,
poorly.
Okay.
Poorly. How does this sound to everyone else so far versus Snorkelmon?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah,
in those cards, pick up those tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do really like it. I like the idea of it a lot.
Sounds like you guys have had a very nostalgic year. A lot of your ideas are like thinking back to things that aren't around anymore.
Something's going on with all of our lives.
Yeah. Something about this year made us think back to brighter times.
Are you all right, Pitch Please Pod?
No. Do you remember when it wasn't hard making games? Yeah, back in the 90s.
Yeah, no, I really like this one. I think it's got a very strong sort of visual style in my head that I can see very clearly. I think at some point there was also a kind of not fully like cook, serve, delicious style where everything is really tight and against the time and everything like that, but just occasional things where you're holding down space to rewind a tape and a customer's coming in and you're like, I'm just going to keep doing this for a bit. Just tiny little things. All are very quick.
Yeah, having to rewind stuff is really good as well. Like check that it's rewound. And there was also that satisfying element of almost a bit like unpacking of, being able to put all the individual videos in and just feel like, I've just made a nice shelf.
This game, it just taps into like loads of little experiences that people are like really into, like being neat and tidy, but then also a little bit of narrative, the kind of zen of like quite boring simulators, like your Power Wash simulator, or, rewinding videos and that kind of stuff, and like huge like viral meme potential in like all the different video puns and box arts. You can just see people like tweeting those out. They're like, oh, look at this is so good. This is a really good idea for a game.
Wow, okay.
I actually, I do really, really like this.
Okay, well, it looks like the current leader, VH Sim.
VH Sim.
Yeah, I don't even hate the name. Like it's...
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's just boring enough to be exactly what the game is about.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense than, Snorkelmon.
I was on the spot.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, prepare for the next one.
Yeah, VH Sim is currently the winner. But This next one, I think, is this is when we really got deep into community ideas, and we don't actually say anywhere on here who actually sent the ideas in. So apologies if we just fucking dunk on these. But I don't remember this one. I'm going to be honest. It's called Game Lad, and even reading this description, which is more in depth than any other description on here, I still don't fully understand what it was. Magic Game Boy. Enemies come to life. Load different cartridges to get different abilities. Pixels the movie. LOL, non-IP infringing hero lonk.
If I remember correctly, it was something happened to you and like enemies would start coming to life from video games that you had played, and you would have to insert the cartridges into your Game Boy to gain the abilities of that game you were playing, and then you could fight them. And we obviously had a Zelda-esque game, but he was called Lonk. That's all I remember. Right.
And you have Mario's legs.
It's a lot of nostalgia again.
Link's sword and shield, but Kirby's mouth.
A lot of sucking.
Yeah. No.
I think the difficulty with this one was that you would need it for it to work. It would need to be the actual IP. Yeah. I think we're talking about like pixels. It would be funny if Crash Bandicoot was spinning while holding the Master Sword and had all this stuff. Yeah, but that's obviously not possible. So
it'd be like a Kingdom Hearts level of having to.
Well, James, none of these games are going to exist.
Well,
we're thinking about the NDAs.
Still working on #blessed.
#blessed, yeah.
I think if this game has 100 million at the end, if it wins the Matt Castle Patreon money support, then maybe we can get those IPs.
Very good patron. I said it's a from me.
It was a difficult one. Like, I get the idea, but
I just don't really even know what this is.
I don't remember it. So
yeah, it just feels like you're changing character abilities, and they've put like a nice skin on it, which is the cartridge thing. Like I'm not really interested in that.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay,
kill it,
Game Lad. See ya. You're dead.
You're fucking dead, Game Boy. Game Lad. Sorry.
So this next one, I feel like we were kind of excited about it at the time, but now I don't really remember it. Do you remember this, Tom?
This is always good content. But Balance Boy, we weren't very imaginative after VH Sim, apparently. Balance Boy, it just says, need to keep the land balanced. You were an angel with demonic powers?
Yes. Weren't you like the son of an angel and a demon or something like that?
That's where we ended up at the end, yeah.
And was it almost like a Breath of the Wild style land?
Open world, and you could do things similar to how in the infamous games where you could morality and Mass Effect and that using certain decisions tilted you in a certain into a certain morality, and that would give you different powers, but it would also change the land you were in. And the idea was to keep things balanced. And I can't remember. And then there was like
to Fable, but I can't remember how.
Yeah, and I think the when it was evil, it was all washed out and black and white. Similar, it was because I remember bringing up the Saboteur. Obviously, when you clear the Nazis out of that part, the occupied parts of France, it all goes back into full color. There was something like that, but I don't think we ever decided that either one had like a benefit over the other. And the idea of keeping it balanced is like we might as well just do nothing at that point. But I can't remember if other people could take over certain bits like naturally, and you would just have to rebalance it and figure out.
It was a co-op game?
No, as in like the AI might, one faction might go against another and they would take over certain
wasn't there certain like the idea that there were villages, or in my head at least, it was kind of like this Breath of the Wild style land, but you are, for example, if you're currently the like on the bad end of the scale, you're a bit more evil, then that's going to affect your relationships with certain towns where you might need to
the town of necromancers hate you if you're good, but the town of villagers
isn't this just Fable?
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Maybe it is just Fable. Yeah,
moving on.
One thing I will say though, was this our first like voice pitch.
Yes, it was.
I just looking it up. King of Mushon was the person that pitched it to us.
Okay.
Was this Mushan?
Great voice. That's all I'll
He does
say.
have a great voice.
Little subtitles.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, we just shout over the game. So
Yeah.
Sorry about
don't
sorry
worry.
about that, Mushan. It was
I
a
think
great
Fable's
pitch.
fun, but it's
already a game.
Yeah, it exists. Yeah.
Don't worry,
King
King of
Molyneux
Mushan
made it, and he's in a box now.
I feel like he's our
game earlier.
weird arch rival of the nemesis of this podcast that we've created. Yeah, he's always on our bad side.
I don't know what.
He's never done anything right.
He's done
to
nothing
us.
to me. He's not done anything.
Oh,
He's just made some games I really love.
Yeah,
That was his worst growing.
we're that unoriginal that they've already been made, and we just can't. He's always there.
All right, Bounce
Yeah,
Boy.
get
sorry,
out of
sorry,
here.
Moosh.
Can't remember it.
Remember it.
All right, well, Matt, you're going to love this one. This one is called Golem Town.
All right.
Now, you make golems to run a town. They copy your movements and actions
what is it?
exactly.
What is it with
They
town
copy-
builders?
Oh no! What's
They
it with just
copy-
programming other people to do the game for you? That's
they copy your movements and actions exactly. All the way down. They're very limited in what they can do.
What does
Let's
this
say
sound
you
like?
need to. They need to get your. You need to get your rock from the mines to the storehouse, but your golems have limited actions, so you're going to need to program multiple golems to sort of ferry the. Okay, moving on.
It's basically fantasy Factorio because conveyor belts don't exist and automation doesn't
Yeah.
exist. So you've made
It's all
golems,
golems.
but you have
Wasn't there
to.
a physics element
There was.
as well?
Yeah.
Because it was kind of, the idea was that it was funny to make these golems do stuff that then like they would potentially fuck up.
Funny.
And you'd watch them.
We
like you would watch
discussed
them on the
briefly,
assembly line.
It being a VR game and that they would just copy your movements.
But that because I remember that exists, and
That
I
exists.
told people about this, and then we're like, well, let's not make it a VR game
Yeah.
because again, we've come up with an idea that already exists.
Yeah.
I remember there being more to this. However,
The Last
I don't think-
Clockwinder was the game, the assembly line, which won
Right.
Meta's
Right.
Game of the Year
Yes.
this year.
Well, I think
There you go.
I still haven't
as
played
much as
that.
we could try and describe Golem Town, I don't think it's ever going to beat VH Sim. So we can
Probably
carry
not.
on.
You're right.
I do like this one though.
The name
I
is
did
my
like this
personal
one.
favorite.
I mean, the start of the description, you're not gonna like this one. But Pete the Necroplanter, PEAT, the Necroplanter, is an auto battler game. It's like your auto chesses.
You know,
and
the
your
game where
Dotas.
you put things down and they play the game for you. Those games you really
Essentially.
enjoy.
Now, but you are a necromancer that has shifted into gardening, and you are growing various different fruits and crops and vegetables and whatever else, and then you turn them into beings for your garden green army, and you are trying to fight the necro government, who are necromancers trying to bring you back into the fold, to take you back home to harvest souls. But you want to live your life growing plants. But you harvest plant souls to make new plants. It's not Stardew. It's a game where you are growing various different things, different plants and different vegetables to recruit into your army. And they all have very different abilities and work well with each other like an auto chess game.
If I remember
You're
correctly,
mixing them together as well, right?
yeah, you can
And
cross
you can
pollinate,
breed them.
and it's a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit Plants versus Zombies meets. Sorry, Tom, but meets Stardew Valley. Right. So you can. I think if you could decide the route that enemies would take by how you tilled the land, if I remember correctly, or I've just made that up.
I think that was when it was a tower defense game.
Oh.
But
Yeah, that was a
Isn't that-
suggestion during
This
the
sounds quite like Atomicrops.
I did say that.
it's not,
Atomicrops, but
though.
Atomicrops doesn't have the like.
I can't remember why.
I think the focus on this was more, at least in my head, was more about the combination, like the cross pollination and the experimentation side of things, where
Right.
you're just kind of like growing. It's a little bit like the alien irrigation game that we talked from last year, but like more based around like what do I get if I cross like this plant with this plant, this fire breathing dragon plant with this like weird and like an angry portal plant.
Right.
You get I don't know, like what do you get basically, and then what effect can that have on you defending your base?
We wanted it to
get a fire portal from that combination.
You get a fire portal.
We wanted it to be quite comic in that it'll all be very cutesy, but obviously you're murdering these plants to harvest their plant soul. So there would be quite gruesome cutscenes of like chopping strawberries and stuff going everywhere, and like I think what I liked about it was this idea that you're kind of constantly under threat by the necromancers trying to take you back home. So you're building you're a vegan necroplanter, and you'd be just building up your defenses, but also whilst you're safe, you do the experimentation side.
Yeah, I think every battle, at least in the version that I think I pitched at the end, I can't remember if it was the only idea, but it was definitely an auto battler, auto chess, Despot's game, Underlords, that sort of thing. But with an additional level of future sight that's going to be needed, because you can't just grow a perfect defense for the next attack straight away. You have to give it a few turns. You have to kind of build up your army as time goes on, and prepare in advance for strategy and whatever else. I kind of liked it. But I mean,
I like the cross-pollination side of it, the experimentation. There was something about that feels kind of fun and silly.
I couldn't really picture it.
It's a tricky one. I'm hearing all this stuff, and that's I kind of get how it works. I can sort of see how it works, but I must admit, for me personally, I have very little interest in plant growing mechanics. I think I'm sort of sick of like farming and farming adjacent things.
That's fair enough. There's been a lot of it.
There are about 10 coming out next year, so.
Please don't tell me either of you are working on that, because I'd feel terrible.
No, not at all.
No. Not anymore.
Well, I just like, some people like that stuff, but I don't know. Like I hate plants in real life, gardening. Like why would I? It's not fancy. It speaks to me at all.
I don't remember there being like. I don't remember there being. I think it was more thematic than anything. They were just a plant army, rather than you literally remember, it's morning time, the soil's gotten dry, you need to water it. It was if I water another square of soil again in my life, I don't know what I'll do. I'll scream.
I think it was just the idea that, like, if they were anything else other than plants, the idea of like pulling them apart and cross-pollinating them and stuff would be horrific.
Yeah,
you've just put. I think you've just put like one of my least favorite activities: gardening and plants, and thinking about plants, and thinking about nature in general, with videos, which is like one of my favorite things ever. So
yeah,
it's tough,
true.
But that's where I'm coming from. But you vote how you wish.
I'm still VHS.
Yeah,
I
personally still. Yeah, I want to run my own VHS store.
I do really like this idea, though. To be clear, I think it's not that close, but it's a top contender for me. But VHS Sim's better for sure.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. VHS Sim is winning, but I there's definitely a really nice visual style that can go with this, and I think messing around with the different formations and army combinations and whatever else could be really, really cool. And what happens if tomatoes work with carrots? Whoa.
Who knows?
Well,
spicy.
Anyway, a question about, does VHS Sim finish with like the dawn of streaming? Is it like a really bleak, depressing end to it?
Yeah.
We'd actually talked about that,
Yeah, we couldn't figure out if it was just going to be very miserable, a slow decline.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was like how much money could you earn before like the dawn of streaming? And it's like, is that too depressing? Like, the late game you're going to fail.
Is just phoning customers, trying to get them back.
Yeah, but you could have like a bittersweet kind of end of credit sting where it cut. You're out of business, yes, but then you're watching some real shit on Amazon or whatever, and just going like, well, it was better than this. What I did was better than this.
Stroking a VHS tape.
Yeah, stroking a VHS tape, watching Rings of Power.
I don't know if I imagined this, but maybe you retired before it happened, because you were already.
Yeah, I think there was the idea of you retiring towards the on the cusp, basically. Or you wanted to make enough money to be able to retire.
Yeah,
so you didn't have to you weren't forced to shut down, basically.
You're right. Retirement is definitely a more exciting ending to this game.
Okay, look. So VHS Sim currently on top. We're steaming through the year because we are into October.
Whoa.
Not many left now. Yeah.
Not many left.
It's time to shake up the format again with Katana 360, which... this description that you've written here, I don't think really makes sense. Worms with swords all happening at the same time, turn-based and ninja stuff, strategy.
Sorry, I've written a lot of notes by this point.
Yeah. Now, this was I think maybe tile-based, but I guess we could just say it's XCOM, but everyone takes their turns at the same time in that you queue up your turn saying, right, I want Hero 1 to go onto this roof and throw something down this way. At the same time, I want Hero 2 to go this way and throw a smoke bomb down here, whatever else. The other team also goes at the exact same time as you. And so the moment you press play, the action starts and everything just happens at the same time. So maybe when you were throwing a smoke bomb in that corner, that's going to do nothing because the enemy's not there anymore. Or when you attack in this particular direction, doesn't do anything because they're fucked off or they're blocking now or whatever. Every character had 3 sort of action points, I suppose, of skills, attacks, and movement. And you use those to try and create the turn and predict where the enemies will be going, what they're going to be doing on their turn, and trying to win the fight like that. Has a lot of room for flailing and failing and people just dashing into corners and slashing at the air and doing nothing for ages and ages and ages. Or there's the potential of some actually genuinely really cool, really close fights of people predicting the right movements and stuff like that. And there was also certain actions you could take to predict the enemy movements as they come up. And you could examine someone and say, right, I want to know what their attack action is. And then use that to inform your decisions when playing your quote unquote cards.
But they weren't cards. They were action points. But they weren't cards.
They were just actions that you could take with different heroes. And the loadout of your ninja samurai mattered as well. You could go into the fight with, katanas, the throwing stars, smoke bombs, whatever else, and that gave you more abilities in the fights as well. But generally speaking, a very small arena that you're fighting in, relatively quick battles, provided you're not just throwing yourself at nothingness for ages and ages. I just like that idea of just pressing play and just watching the chaos unfold, hoping that your actions have accurately predicted what the enemy is going to do.
Yeah, I really like the idea of it being, because a lot of it is just having to outthink your opponent before anything even happens. Like you're having to think through, and the more you play a person, whether it's like online, the more you play your friend or whatever, the more the better you'll get at it. But then the more you'll understand each other's style of play. Like maybe when you're versus AI, there are certain kinds of enemies that you fight that have certain kinds of behavioral patterns, and so you make your decisions based on that. But I think that, like, the idea of like both all of those, like turn-based, but the turns happen at the same time, like just adds this whole other kind of like element to it. I've not seen that before. Just seems kind of cool to me.
You see like a replay at the end of it all, kind of like just replay
you watch the entire fight,
seeing the entire fight of someone just swinging at nothing, thinking they're going to come this way soon. I'm guaranteed. I think we also envisioned it quite differently. Like I think some of us imagined it like 2D side on, and you'd have platforms and things that you could jump up to And then
I still always imagined it isometric.
And then isometric,
just for a bit more tactical, sort of Final Fantasy Tactics, that sort of thing. I suppose, but a lot more
into the breach.
I think,
swishy.
To sort of make sure that the rounds did eventually end, you'd close the space in eventually. So, your actual play area would become smaller to sort of make people make decisions to be offensive or, just get lost.
Eventually you're going to have to like fight one another because there are only going to be 2 squares left.
I think there was something about, I think the original idea also had a lot of things about stamina usage and stuff as well. Or if you get hit once, they have to, there was something about dice rolling in there. I can't remember if that actually lasted through to the end, but if something hit you, they had to beat a 6 on a D6 to hit you. And then the next time they try, they have to beat a 5. The next time they try, they have to beat a 4. So people would slowly get worn out, or their defenses would get lower, their attack would get lower, whatever else. So the fights eventually reach a point where one hit will kill you, whereas towards the start of the fight, you've got a little bit more freedom. I don't know if this necessarily literally slows down your people until everyone's just running around the fight, just like drudging through sludge, and it's just boring to watch.
I don't think that made it to the end, though, if I remember rightly. But
I mean, I do like the idea that to up the ante as time goes on, people become easier to hit, or they take more damage, or whatever else. So it's just much more climactic, I suppose. I just don't think I've played anything quite like that. I just think it'd be cool to try to put something together like that.
Does this tickle your pickle, Matthew?
I don't know. Is it a bit Frozen Synapsy?
Oh
God, here we go. Is it a bit this game that's exactly like it? Yeah, probably.
Well, but I can't remember if that was simultaneous turns or not. But that had an element of like taking a turn and not knowing what another person was doing at the same time.
How does that work? Hang on. Okay, I'm reading the description. Frozen Synapse is a turn-based tactics video game developed by independent game developer Mode 7, in which players plan their moves at their leisure and turns are resolved simultaneously.
All right, well, okay. Does that beat videotapes? Let's just end that there.
But again, like I really like. It's going to take something quite spectacular to knock off VHS sim for me. So I'm sticking with VHS sim. But I like this idea, and it's clearly a good idea because someone's already made it.
Yeah, someone's already done it.
Someone's made it, and what the reviews are mixed on Steam.
It's got a sequel. It's popular enough that they did a sequel.
That's the one I'm looking at actually. The original is very positive.
Well,
it does. Yeah, I mean it. Oh, it is isometric as well.
Wait,
interesting.
I feel like you're going to buy this game tonight.
Strategy genre up to date.
Is it in Tom's library?
Probably. He's got like 200 hours played.
Well, yeah, I do really like this game. I think.
We should play Frozen Synapse.
Not Frozen Synapse. I've never played it. Not once.
Twice.
I like the tactics element of this, and I think giving everyone very specific turns of this is their movement, but everyone's movement is different. They have the ability to jump as their movement, or dash as their movement, or whatever else. And trying as time goes on, you learn more about the enemy and the sort of classes that they've picked, or the loadout they've picked, and also just spending an entire turn scanning someone and or examining them and just saying, like, I know they're going to use this particular attack. And I remember there was also like crossover things as well, like attacks that also eked into the skills section. So it was like 2 tiles rather than 1. There was a lot to it. And I think I personally prefer this, but this is coming from someone who loves tactic games.
Honestly, yeah, like I feel like this is one of the most like fleshed out games mechanically that we talked about this year. And the only reason that I prefer VHS Sim is just because that to
it's
me,
yours.
like because it's mine, because I can kind of feel like I know that game like almost exactly, like I know exactly how it would be to play
as well. Like you haven't experienced being a ninja who can only move when he's already been told what to do.
It's hard to
that
relate.
for me makes it win out just.
Games are an escape, and I want to be a ninja, not some guy that runs a VHS store. Actually, I do kind of really want to play VH Sim, but my vote still goes to Katana 360. Just mechanically, it sounds very, very strong.
Okay, so we've got 2 VHS Sims, 1 Katana 360. Chris?
VHS Sim.
All right.
Matt? Matt, you were James?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I do like this idea a lot, but yeah, VHS Sim still wins out.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Now, Alex, we've just had a game where you have to play your turn and then your play happens automatically. What about a game where you play your turn and there's a lag and then it happens?
you hated this.
I didn't mind it. I just feel now I've heard those two in quick succession.
Yeah.
There was a running theme of just delays. Do you want to run through
not picked up on that
endless lag end?
Yay, lag.
Katana 360 did shake up the community pictures that we got in because there was a lot of pictures that started with, I really like Katana 360. How about this? And the first one we got was Endless Legend, which I admit I wasn't a big fan of, but it was the basic premise. Was that you are running a fuck, I've forgotten the type of game it is. Command and Conquer style base, like army building, whatever else, resource management sort of game. Except your communications with the planet themselves was offset by a certain amount of lag because you are far away from the planet.
You got closer over time, right?
You got closer over time, so the lag would slowly diminish until it became real time, and your mothership is there and you can assist in the fight and whatever else, but then it just becomes an game RTS. And the hook is gone, I suppose, at that point. I think that was kind of my takeaway from Endless Legend. You're playing the game long enough until you're not playing that game anymore.
the setup for it for me, from what I remember at least anyway, was that it was almost like there was like humanity has discovered a new, like, I don't know, we've all moved to like the next system or something, this whole new area of planets with like these kind of super resource rich planets, and you have a bunch of different factions that all have their motherships that are heading towards particularly rich planets. They've all sent scouting units ahead. And the amount of time that it takes for these units to respond, to communicate with them, it's like The Expanse, which we talked about, where like there are scenes in The Expanse where like there are these huge epic like battles up in space, and then you'll get like the war room happening down on Earth, and they're like, oh, we just got hit. Well, how do we respond? But the delay is 20 minutes, so this happened 20 minutes ago. We need to know, we need to think ahead, and like there's that element of like of strategy to it. And so, and it begins with just this like very basic things on the planet. Like you're saying things like, I don't know, create an operation, a forward operations base or something, or like manufacture more robots or whatever. You're sending out basically quite simple commands. But the further away you are from the planet, you're dealing with other things in real time that are directly on your ship and to do with the politics of working with these other ships around you. And the closer you get, the gameplay shifts focus more towards the RTS strategy side of the planet, when you're able to have more direct and quicker control of the units that you've created there.
You'd get like
until
a
at the end it effectively becomes a skirmish.
And you have to base your information on that. And I think we really like the idea at the time that some people might be really good at this, and they could like give commands to be like, go over there, aim and shoot. And like they'd be able to run combat like over the huge lag. Whereas some people would just be like, I can't do that. I'm just going to be terrible at it. So it's another kind of anticipating moves and things. There would be two factions on the planet, and it's like you've both planted your flag, and it's whoever can defend the longest claims the planet. And once the motherships arrive, then it's just the really interesting thing, I think, is the way that the play would change. So as moves become more once a lag reduces enough that you're basically real time, it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
I mean, I think yay lag at the very beginning from Matt has pierced right through this entire pitch.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail it that way.
You should have said it now, but you meant to say
how
it.
I feel about it, to be fair.
You meant to say it at the start.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, just from a personal perspective, I'm not a huge like RTS sort of strategy head, which makes it kind of like harder to evaluate some of these things. I do like that sort of twist of like there being these two places and kind of what's going down in kind of real time and this sort of this sort of excitement of the delay and the opportunity there. I just like. Yeah, I don't play a lot of strategy games because I am very, very bad at like multitasking. So for me, the idea of like multitasking where you also have to take into consideration things not being like immediate at all, and that would like I struggle when I've got like honest information, let alone kind of the game sort of misleading me. It's a hard sell for me, but I'm not knocking the idea. I'm going to abstain from voting on this one.
Okay. I mean, from my perspective, as somebody who does like these sorts of games, I remember there being a thing at the side of the screen where you could see the sent information and it slowly moves up the screen until it hits received. And then you have a track of, I guess, kind of like Sims where you have a list of tasks that they're going to do in sequential order. And there was also a way to interrupt communications as well and remove certain communications from that list, and that would completely fuck up like a construction line or whatever else, and you'd have to recover from that separately. However, I just couldn't get past the idea of this just being frustrating.
I think we tried to. We definitely came up with some good ideas to try and negate that, but I just think you can't get over the feeling of frustration of things not happening, especially if it was. It can't be real time, obviously, but at that point, if it's not real time / quite a long time, you're just playing an RTS, right? If there's a day-night cycle that lasts 2 minutes, you might as well just be playing an RTS. I think I don't think we managed to save it, but I don't remember.
It's an interesting idea,
an awful,
but we just don't have the capabilities.
We couldn't figure out how to actually make it enjoyable, but I still do feel like there is something there, like the idea
has some redeeming
of
qualities
introducing lag into but it's not gonna beat VH Sim, right?
Not for me.
Win out so far.
No.
Okay. Well,
maybe this one
case, will. What's next, Tom?
This was from our live episode that we did as part of the Pickaxe Podcast Week.
Pickaxe.
You are Jimmy Rex, owner of not Jurassic Park, but a park of robot, maybe dinosaurs. You are the director. You're in control of all of these dinosaurs. And there are 3 people in your park that want to escape, but you've gone crazy. You don't want them to escape. You want to kill them. They are real people playing a Left 4 Dead-esque game against dinosaurs, robot dinosaurs. And you are the director in control of the entire thing. Basically, the director AI from Left 4 Dead. That's you. You can spawn in different units to go after them. You can fuck them up in different ways.
And force them down different paths that you want them to go down.
Force them down different paths, yeah. And their goal is to escape. Your goal is to mess up their entire day and destroy them. Not like Evolve, where you are the monster. But like
it's Dead by Daylight meets Horizon Forbidden West.
Right. Sounds a lot like what Fable Legend was going to be, which was adventurers versus a god character. I don't know if the god character was like
Peter.
I can't remember if the god character was playable in the game and they could just switch to a top-down view, or if they played the whole thing. I'm pretty sure they were like a dungeon master character.
Right.
That's still
I didn't know that.
It's a good idea. Like, and that game never came out.
Yeah, that's how
they
good it
shit
was.
canned it because it
free
was
real estate.
Such a good idea. But it
really
always got
made. That as Jimmy Rex, this mad park owner, that you might be looking through like CCTV cameras and other things in order to see where the players are in the map. You might have like a map overview, and you're like, okay, I want to send them down corridor B because I know that there's some cool traps that I can deploy.
You had to divert power as well, right? To open certain areas and lock certain. Yeah, you didn't have control over all the facility and all the robots all the time.
This sounds a lot like Resident Evil 3 Remake's multiplayer mode.
But that's a multiplayer mode. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it had a mode where you were like you were dungeon master, like placing down traps and zombies, but you could also like lure people into bits of the zombies. This sounds like grander scale, bigger ambition, and
I think we drew from Mighty Quest for Epic Loot as well, which was that asynchronous dungeon building. Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft.
I'm not sure I'd be hugely satisfied with the incredibly vague narrative setup of you own a park and you've gone mad. I feel like that feels kind of undercooked.
There's some world building to do, but I admit that we only did this for 20 minutes. It took us, I think, 18 of those minutes before we realised that Horizon Forbidden. We were trying to come up with a good similarity, like a good example of robot dinosaurs.
You were like, robot dinosaurs? I can't believe no one's thought of this
before.
They've
had Dino Crisis. I was like, and then we went, Horizon Forbidden West. They have robot dinosaurs.
Somehow that just escaped.
I'd probably play it. I probably wouldn't play it more than VHS Sim, but...
Well, there you go.
That sounds like a decision. Honestly, same. I don't think anyone's gonna.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
No. I think this was another one where we got to the point where it was like, but would anyone actually pick the director? I'd prefer to blast Robo Dinos. And try and escape.
They're totally different games.
No one's gonna want to pick.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. And there's But there was so the other one that we had on this show was I don't think anyone's going to pick this one because we didn't really figure out exactly what it was, but it was just the idea of, have you heard of that city they're building, the Line? Yes. Yeah. So there's that new. Have you heard about this, Matthew?
No.
So it's a real thing where they're creating this city in is it Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia. It's 100 kilometers long, 500 meters tall, and I think 100 meters wide, and it's just a line.
Yeah,
but it's mirrored on the outside in the middle of the desert.
Mirrored, and they are. So this is actually happening. It's under construction right now. They're currently breaking ground, and we just thought it could be quite interesting to create some kind of city builder. That is based around what was the call? Because it was a call-in, wasn't it? The guy was asking for not a cyberpunk, not a dystopian city builder, but like the opposite. Where you're having to create basically like an eco city. No, not a utopia. There was a certain word for it. Yeah,
something else.
Yeah. It was like biopunk or something like that.
Biopunk. Yeah.
But essentially, where you're just trying to create this utopia, like an eco-friendly city, and we thought like the structure of the Line was kind of a potentially a cool idea for that.
Good
How
constraint.
Would that work? Like a vertical city in that sense, because obviously when you think of it, like any kind of city that has levels, on top of each other, just immediately makes me think of, Deus Ex or Midgar from Final Fantasy.
Right.
It sounds like a really terrible idea. It sounds like it's only going to invite
class structure. Yeah.
So wait, this is a city that goes up or it goes along? What is it?
It goes along 100 kilometers, but goes up 500 meters the whole way.
Yeah, so it has like 3 or 4 different sections to it. There's like the residential, and then there's, I think there are multiple residential actually. There's commercial, and then there's like the service at the bottom.
Because when you say it's long, 100 kilometers long, like it's a corridor city, like a corridor shooter where you've got to get from one end of a city to the other end of the city. That I'd play a third-person shooter.
I think we mentioned that as well.
Like
at one point,
you just make sure that there's something important at the other end, like your pills.
Yeah.
For what? At one end, you're like, my pills. Where are they? I left them at home at the other end of the city.
I must now shoot my way through.
And I've got my arm's a gun. That never stops
the pills
shooting.
It's Rennie's.
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we ever really figured what that would be as a game, other than just like a different shaped city builder. But
thanks for telling me about the city. It sounds rad.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre.
I'm amazed that it exists. I can't imagine it ever actually being fully constructed.
I mean,
and if it does, we'll be long dead.
It's begun construction. It's weird. Anyway, before we continue our Neom shilling, not sponsored by Neom.
Oh, they're the people building it.
Line.
Yeah.
We can move on to the penultimate one, which again I think is not going to win, but it is MK Alt Tank, MK Old Tank. Which I think was another spin on Katana 360. Someone heard Katana 360
really
and said, I've got an idea. I've got a way to really fucking mix it up. You are someone else's eyes. You drive tanks, but the screen that you have, this took a lot of explaining to James, so I need to do a really good job here. The screen you have is not your tank. It's someone else's tank.
Right.
And the screen they have is your tank. So where you're moving around, you can't see your movements. The other person can. And it's a
communication is key.
Communication is key. It says at the end here, Nazi experiments, swap eyes? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
That came up in the episode.
Yeah.
Or something of a name.
Can't remember why that came up. But yeah, it's the screen looking game. I can't remember the name of that one. Screen cheat, whatever.
Screen cheat.
But you have to communicate with other people about where you are versus where they are versus where the enemy is.
It was 2v2, right?
2v2, yeah.
So the opposite team are also seeing the opposite team, and you just constant communication of where the other person should be going / pointing / shooting, but you're also receiving that information as well. So it's
right.
Just it's like being on this Discord call when everyone talks over each other, but you're giving out tank commands.
Yeah,
this sounds like hard work.
Yeah,
it just doesn't sound like even a full game to me. I think
it sounds like trying to understand it.
Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah,
because like Screen Cheat's got a really nice sort of. It's like, that sensation of playing the split screen multiplayer. It's like that, except you have to look at other people's screen. You're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is.
Nostalgia again.
Yeah, this is just. I don't like this. This isn't one for me.
All right,
okay,
it's done.
It's
dead.
It's dead. All right. Well, this one you might like. This one.
This is the final contender.
This is the final.
So is this going to be better than VHS Sim?
I think you're going to like it.
The name. I
think you will like this one.
Don't set it up like that.
Well, I mean, okay. You are a janitor.
Okay.
You work in a very tall skyscraper-like building.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone to the cleaning closet because someone down at the party, the Christmas party, has spilled their drink. So you're in the cleaning closet right now. Suddenly you hear commotion downstairs. Terrorists are taking over the building.
Oh.
And you are the only person they haven't found.
It's just Die Hard.
Now, what?
It's reverse Die Hard.
What could a janitor do against these terrorists? Don't worry. You have the incredible power of your mind palace to imagine any scenario the moment you exit that cupboard door, that exit the closet.
Right.
And it just so happens that everything you imagine is also correct. You come out of the closet and you start shooting. You do the best you can to try and get to ground zero to escape the skyscraper
while the bomb is going off. Right? No, there's a bomb going
there's
off.
No bomb yet. There's no bomb yet.
Oh right,
this is
Right.
important.
Yeah.
You need to do it in 30 minutes or less. And every time you die, you go back to the closet and you're like, right, that didn't work, but I've learned this much about this route, whatever else. So you try again and you try again and you try again until eventually you're like, right, I know the route. I know where all the enemies are. I know where there's weapons hidden. I know secret routes. I know exactly how to do this in 30 minutes or less. and then you press that red button on that bomb that you've got in the
Oh
closet.
yeah, you're planting the bomb, not the terrorists.
No,
You.
you. The only people left in the building now are terrorists, and you're going to blow up.
And
the
now
building
you're
to
one
kill
of
the
them because
terrorists.
you're planting a bomb.
No, you're killing all the terrorists. And now that you've pressed that timer, this is your last chance.
Right.
You've trained for this.
Mentally.
You've run the game mentally trained for this. You've run the game multiple times. You know, I can do this. This is the final chance. And if you fail, the game completely stops and you failed.
And then it procedurally generates again, so it's different.
And then every time it's
How
different.
is this not just 1917, except with a condition? Like in 1917, you could just say, which one do you want to take? The one, we've got this piece of information. We've only got one copy of it. You got to choose which one to take the one copy.
Well, the reason is Matt, is because in 1917 was in February and we'd forgotten about it. And then what we've done is we've taken that and we've rotated it 90 degrees and made it vertical.
I feel like though,
Yeah.
thematically, this feels like stronger to me. It feels really solid. Like so some of the other references that we had for this were Dread. You brought up, Chris,
Right.
Yeah, and also
The Raid. Any film
for
in a
me, The
tower,
Raid
really.
was a big one. Basically, like the idea of it being kind of this third person, where you could this third person of like shooter or fighting game where you go through various. You can go through like you can choose so many different ways to approach getting to the bottom of this tower, whether it's like stealth or whether it's straight up fighting or a mix of both, or whether it's like technology or hacking or whatever. Yeah. And each one of these runs, you're learning to do. You're learning these different ways that you can do it, and you're also by doing that you're unlocking new abilities. Essentially,
I remember now.
Like,
I missed a key part of this. You are just a janitor.
Yeah, it's like
and your
Sifu with a mop.
Foresight is you don't have the ability to wield a gun. You don't have you can't reload quick. You can't run fast. You can't jump high. You can't do a lot of these things.
In World War I, they were just like janitors. They were just regular boys.
Yeah, but they were given a gun.
They were given one, but they didn't know what to do with it.
They were given a gun. You have manufactured a bomb out of like, I don't know, drain cleaner and some fertilizer that is in the top floor. But the thing is, you're the janitor, so you know the building, you know the vents. You've cleaned them all.
I do agree that this is like a more fun like possibility space than like the trenches, which is like. Just a major downer, if I'm going to be honest.
Famously not a
heavy,
happy place.
Over and over and over
it's
again.
Like ultimate tough hang.
Yeah, I think the sort of key idea for this one was that the more runs you did, the stronger you were, the better you were. For some reason, the more you ran through your mind palace, the better you were at using a gun. Thematically, I will say this game is on the ropes, but yeah, the stronger you are for the final run, but the longer you go, the more space there is for your visualization to be incorrect in the final run, I think is what it was.
Yes.
In the if you take 10 runs, a modifier will come up and that will be like, right, okay, I know that this room is going to change somehow, and I'll only find out when I get there. So it won't be exactly the same as your runs. And if you take 100 runs to finally get the courage to plant the bomb and try and make your final escape, then it's going to be drastically different. And that's when you're going to have to start to improvise rather than rely on your muscle memory to get through this thing.
But you'll have a lot more abilities and a lot more, you'll be a lot more physically capable. And I think there's going to be a lot of elements of like, certain fights where you're going to like these little sub-boss rooms, like the security room or whatever, or the main guard post on the mid level of the tower where you have to fight the sub-boss dude, and you're having to use certain like there's a lot of environmental fighting, like being able to like grab a monitor and throw it at someone, smash it around their head. Like I almost see it as like a little bit Hitman-esque.
What I really enjoy about
sense.
This concept is that if I think about doing a backflip, it doesn't mean I can do a backflip. If I think about it multiple times, then I can definitely do a backflip.
Hard enough.
If I think about it hard enough.
You're the guy from Heroes the very obscure character from Heroes who could learn anything they watched. Do you remember that guy? Might have been a woman.
What if it's a future tower and you're a janitor robot and you so you're just learning? It's like a learning process.
We can't change the idea at this point.
We can't change the idea.
That's confusing matters.
Yeah, we were locked into being Mind Palace. You go in, scrawny janitor. 20 minutes later, you boot open the door and you're ripped, and you're able to just shoot people with pinpoint accuracy, and you've mapped the entire building.
Yeah, like just at its core, you can either choose to go out stronger than you were in the initial runs, or and risk things being different, or doing things early without necessarily knowing the full layout of the tower, and you're weaker, I guess. It's just, where's the point when you say, right, this is the run, this is the one, and you have to really lock it in, because if you fail, you fail.
You're done.
And you're not able to escape.
That's it. You have to start from the beginning again.
Yeah, with a different tower, different terrorists, a different time, different era.
Different era.
1917.
Yeah.
Okay. How does everyone feel listening back to this?
It's got a few plot holes.
Much like Die Hard, but also a great film. So you can still enjoy it despite the plot holes.
I think triggering your own like permadeath round is like a really fun hook, and you can see that being like, that's a really big moment of like drama, and probably like very entertaining to both experience and to see other people experience it. It's tough. It's tough. Like I really like the video setting more. That speaks to me more about like where I'm at in my life.
In a VHS store, it's a very tall VHS store.
It's an incredibly tall VHS.
I'm going to be honest. Based on previous pictures of yours, I can imagine this game being in the Castleverse.
Whoa! Does that end in a trial?
Yeah, yours, because you blew up a fucking building.
You blew.
Oh, right. Oh, well, if that's the framing device.
And at the end of the game,
how did you come to blow up the building, and then you explain through your mind palace?
Yeah, I also killed, and then it shows a tally of how many terrorists you killed.
And that's how many counts of murder you're going down for.
Yeah.
Oh, what a twist! That's a twist worthy of the Castleverse.
Okay, look,
I'm
convinced. Can't change the idea.
It's in.
All right, is this M9 to 5?
M9 to 5.
M9
that
to
was it.
M5 was it? Yeah.
What a way to make a living.
5 or M9 to M5.
How does this feeling versus the current leader, VHS?
I mean,
VHSim.
VHSim's got to win, right? I think we all know it.
I really like this. I'm not trying to dethrone VHSim. I think this is the one I would play more. I like the variety of complications that could come up the longer you spend. And just that pivotal moment is going to be so exciting of just saying, this is it, this is the one, and then messing it up on something that you should have perfected a million times. Like, I like games that make me feel bad.
The main issue of trying to judge these two is that the genres are just wildly different. One is a game you play to relax, and the other one is so on edge.
It's not the better game; it's the better pitch, right? How does this game currently exist after our discussion?
What about the voice pitch that had sound effects and stuff?
No. But like, as in what we ended up with at the end of that show.
Fine. Katana 360 then. That's my game of the year. I really, really like Katana 360. I know it's not even in the competition anymore. He got killed.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's like you can't bring it back from the dead.
I fucking
You're not Pete the Necroplanter.
Yeah, don't bring that one back.
Thank God.
Look, I really like this one as well.
No offense to stans of Pete.
Pete stans.
And my cancelled farming game. Cheers.
I think for this one, I vote M95. I just really like it as a concept.
Yeah.
I think as a game, I probably would play it more because that element of like redoing things over and over and trying to perfect it, like I find really satisfying, and I get very addicted to that style of gameplay.
Me too.
But as an idea for a game in my head, VHS Sim is so ready to go.
It's so ripe.
Yes, it's more of a formed game idea.
It's right. It's red. It's the difference between a nasty pear that you buy and a ready to eat pear, where you can just really just get right into that pear.
I'm surprised how many pear analogies we have come up with on this podcast.
Oh God, I just loved it. It's so rape.
M9 to 5. I think the concept of deciding the drama of taking your final run, love that. But yeah, it doesn't beat a fully formed.
It doesn't beat rewinding a pretend video.
Honestly, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't. It doesn't beat picking the penny sweets out of the one by one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. For me, it has to be VHS Sim. Okay, so we have James, VHS Sim, Matthew, VHS Sim, Tom, M9 to M5.
Yeah.
Chris?
I'm VHS Sim.
Okay.
VHS Sim, okay. All right, I think I have to go with VHS Sim as well. Which means VHS Sim, despite the large amount of viewer pitches this year, we've once again gone for one of our own. Sorry about that. VHS Sim is 2023 pitch of the year.
2022, Alex.
2022.
2023 is going to be DVD store owner Sim.
But wait, hang on. But we're not at. But what is the current pitch, please? Best pitch, right? Because now we have to put it against.
Hang on, what were we against again? I've forgotten.
Last year's. I can't even remember. What was 2021's pitch?
Gods Amongst Us, I think it was.
Yeah, VHS Sim over that. Okay.
VHS Sim, no question.
I don't remember it at all.
Really?
And I remember
very
little, but the things I do remember have made
people
impact.
pretending to be the devil through your computer mic.
You could speak through children. Yeah,
that actually was really fun.
That is true.
There was a god and a devil. They were against each other. They were players, I think. And
yes, they were.
And the regular schlebs on the ground had to figure out which one was the god and which was the devil, and they could all take actions. The gods and the devils, could take actions to try and sway them.
Yeah, no,
and
I agree.
As time went on, you get more favor.
That one.
You still think VHS?
No. Now that you've refreshed it, I remember what the actual concept was. And I would rather much do that than tell Gary that he might enjoy fucking Jaws 2.
Okay.
But it's not called Jaws 2, it's called Mega Shark Megalodon 2 or whatever. Wimbledoomed.
I'm VHS Sim. I just maybe because it's fresher, I don't know, but that's the game that I would definitely put more hours into
for sure.
I think.
I vote Dungeon Daddy and the Crystal of Wisdom.
Bye everyone.
Hang on, so we've got 2 VHS Sims. We've got 2 Gods Among Us. That means James is the.
Oh no, you're kidding, right?
What a pivotal moment this is. Everyone's waiting for this.
Alien Irrigation as the best game from
I didn't even win.
Get out of here.
Fuck off.
It is really difficult because they're both great. Oh, shit.
You got to choose one of them.
Deliberation out.
We're gonna have really tense music over the top of it. It's like The Apprentice.
No, the music from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Just constantly.
I'm going to pick VHS Sim.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Final answer.
£100 million.
Doesn't even need that much. But we can spend the rest on whatever we want.
Videotapes.
Christmas presents.
You need to spend quite a lot on the actors and it's going to have FMV. Yeah.
About 490 million of it is going to go on to 90 million of it is going to go on to the art.
FMV Al Pacino.
FMV, yeah.
FMV Al Pacino.
Coming
the rest
in
is
and
Al
going,
Pacino's fee.
I want a rom-com.
Scorsese
All
saying
right,
nothing by Marvel.
I thank you very much for sticking with us for the last 2 hours. Jeez.
Fucking hell.
Like this year has been genuinely really cool to just get people, just listen to people's ideas. Yes, we did run out of ideas. Yes, we did get dry very quickly at the beginning of the year. But you've saved us, listeners, by coming in with your own ideas. And yes, we did end up picking our own as our favourite. But that just means next year, maybe
try harder,
do a bit better.
Maybe up the ante next time.
And,
try harder.
See what you can come up with.
Yeah, maybe 2023 will be a community pitch winner. Who knows? It won't be because we
And
I want to have at least
sending
one.
in those voice pitches because we really appreciate
I
it.
love the voice
Please do
pitches.
send
So
more
good.
voice pictures. They're fantastic.
Alex, I want to send in a voice pitch. How?
Oh my God. I don't do this. Are we switching it around for this episode?
All right. No one's listened this far.
Send in a voice pitch. You send in a voice pitch to, you know what? You could record it. And can you attach voice to tweets?
Yeah.
No. Yes.
No? Yes?
Maybe.
All right. So you can record it and then tweet us
£8 a month.
at pitchplizpud without any of the vowels. Or you can email us, which could also work, at pitchpleasepod with the vowels at pickaxe.com.
I know, it's yogscast.com.
It's yogscast.com. Pitchpleasepod at yogscast.com. Pickaxe.com might also work
It might.
if you want to test it, but do both just in case.
Shout out of your front door. We might get it.
God, how many times?
Yeah. There are
only been
lots
3
of other
years.
ways to send it. You can look up Tom's personal information, follow him to his favorite
Yeah,
coffee
it's easy
shop,
to find.
drop it in his back pocket, and all the other ways that he's suggested over the last year. Matthew, thanks very much for sticking around with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Hopefully, you'll be back next year to dunk on the rest of our
Yeah, I'll
ideas.
come up with some pictures as well. I'll come back for some pictures.
Oh, you're going to choose
please
your
do.
own. Oh, I see
That
how
would
it
be
is.
lovely.
Trying to dethrone us.
No, I've got some fresh ideas to grow the Castleverse.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, okay.
It's due a
Nice.
new
Well,
gem for sure.
a new Castleverse gem. Well, listeners,
Phase
you
4.
can look forward to that. It's 2023 Castle Phase 4. Look out for that. Until then, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a lovely end of the year, and we'll see you in 2023. Goodbye, everyone.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
What was that noise, James, at the end?
long.
You were just like, I'm done.
I'm so tired. It's been a long week.
Oh, that's another year in the bag, boys. Wrap it up.